Okay, so we'll start out like this. This is one of the worst championship weekends, or I guess Sundays, that I can remember in a long time. This was not like good at all, and it's not because I went 0-2. It's not just because of that. It's not just because of the refs. It's not just because of the injuries. It's this just doesn't even. It didn't feel like these games were worthy of being a championship round. I was coming into this week thinking, okay, the two best NFC teams. I think the Eagles are clearly deserving the one spot. I've talked about it. Hey, they have problems. And even this week, we'll get into it. But even this week, I had problems with them. And it was a bloodbath because Brock Purdy got injured, and then their fourth stringer, Josh Johnson, got put in concussion protocol because was it Reddick? I forget who it was. Someone, I think it was a sack or something like that. And the replay from upstairs, they're like, "Hey, you gotta check this guy out because he just hit his head on the ground." So it was an injured Brock Purdy, or it was CMC who was going to be QB, and it's like, okay, well, that's not really fun to watch. And then the Niners defense didn't look that strong, didn't look that great this week, or this past Sunday. And then we move on. God help us all. And then we move on to the Sunday night AFC Championship game, man. Let me start out by saying this. I didn't watch this full game. I had to go back and watch the highlights. But that's not what people care about right now. There is more outrage at the NFL being rigged and the refs being shitty, terrible, absolutely atrocious than I've ever seen before. And I've watched, I can remember probably 16, 17 seasons. Obviously, again, I'm 22 years old, so I don't remember, 22 years ago. But, and again, when I was, a young kid, we didn't have the internet like we had today. We didn't have, all these social media apps. We didn't have all these podcasters that were like, oh yeah, you go on Twitter, you go on Facebook, you go on this, that, this, and that, and this, and that, and all you see is refs rig the game, blah, 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 blah. Pat McAfee was talking about, I think it was 168,000 tweets about the refs rigging the game, or the NFL, rigging the game and the refs being bad. Apparently it topped Twitter. 168,000 tweets. That's a lot. Okay, now again, I don't know if that's right because that's what I heard Pat McAfee say. I don't use Twitter, but if that is true, that's not a good look for the NFL. Apparently the Chiefs got a 5th down, and they were able to convert it for, was it a big play or a touchdown or something like that. And there's all this other crap going on, and how, the refs are screwing over. All I've seen about this game is how bad the refs are. And literally, I feel like only Chiefs fans, sorry, Bella, but I feel like only Chiefs fans are like, hey, that wasn't right. Your team just sucks. So, when you have 31 teams kind of just going yeah, it's bad. That's when you know something has to change. The problem is, the NFL is probably not going to do anything. There's been times in the past, and let's get the elephant out of the room. Let's just talk about Saints and Rams. Let's get that out of the room. Let's talk about that first. So, obviously the big one, we all remember that. It's still, people still talk about it to this day, and we're 7 years removed from it? Maybe it's only 5 years. I forget what it is. Point is, it's been a couple years now. We're still talking about how it was, should have been pass interference, should have been an early hit. You had a ref right there and everything on the sidelines. There's literally pictures you can see with the ref looking right at the two players, and how the only thing they did is they did one season where they can review pass interference, and then they just kind of towards the end of the season kind of got rid of that, kind of threw that out the window. It didn't really go too well. It honestly, it was not set up real well. Like, it was actually like really bad. And then you've had, I don't know, the past, I guess, 10 years, I'll say. It's not going to be exactly 10 years, but you have it where the QBs is basically a ballerina and you can't touch them. Just put a skirt on the QBs because you can't touch them at all. Just pretend they're women. Because, and this still haunts me. Clay Matthews, I believe it, was it Case Keenum or was it Kirk Cousins? I think it was Kirk Cousins. I believe it was Kirk Cousins. Obviously, we tied that game, Packers-Vikings in Lambeau, because of the dumbass roughing the passer call. Past 10 years, again, it's been around that. You can't touch a QB without getting fucking flagged and whatnot. So, there's nothing that's really, like, they say they're going to change it, but they don't do anything about it in the long run. There's, like, it's like, I don't even think they can get penalized by the NFL, like the higher-ups. I don't think so. You have people, you have players. And I think Jerry Jones came out and talked recently. I think it was like 2 years ago. I don't know if he got fined, but you have players that get fined if you talk about the refs. If you say, oh, the refs did a bad job, you get fined for that. Because they're a dumbass, and you're calling them out when a lot of people are watching this game. Thousands, maybe even millions of people are watching these games. You have the NFC and AFC fucking championships. This is the second, but these two are the second biggest games in this goddamn NFL. And you can't fucking criticize refs. You can't say shit. You get fined so much. Now, obviously, again, these players can pay for it. But that's not the point. The point is, something needs to be done about the refs. Something needs to change in the NFL for real. We can't have these dumbasses going, oh yeah, we're going to change something. It's written on a piece of paper, because what's written on a piece of paper doesn't always translate to something IRL. Well, in real life, IRL, text lingo. They got to change something here. There was that roughing the passer call, there was a no roughing the passer call on Burrow, and then I think the very next drive for the Chiefs, I think Mahomes got touched or whatever, and they called it roughing the passer on a Bengals player. There's a lot wrong. There's a lot wrong. And again, when you have the second biggest games in an NFL season, and what people take away from it is the NFL is rigged, the refs are ass, and no one cares about the final score. Well, Bengals and Chiefs fans do, but the other 30 teams are like, who gives a shit? And even to an extent, again, there were some bad calls in the NFC Championship game too, and I saw someone, I forget who it was, someone said that if Brock Purdy stayed healthy, it could have been even worse. It could have been worse, the NFC game, than what the AFC Championship was. Think about that. I forget, I gotta find that source. I might put something in the description if I can find it. I believe he was either a former player or something like that. So when you have, people coming out are like, hey, like, this is ass. This is bad. The NFL is not looking good. And to top it off, the cherry on top, little salt, little sprinkles, whatever not salt, but little sprinkles, little, pieces of nut, whatever you put on top of that cake, on top of that pie. Apparently, the Super Bowl refs have their hands on their flags at all times, and one little mistake, oh, there's a flag, throw another flag, get that fucking flag out there. So, I pray to God, the Chiefs and the Eagles can get out of there as fast as possible. We can get to the offseason and we can start fucking complaining our asses off, start rioting if we have to. Because if this is worse than the AFC and NFC Championship games, you're going to have a lot of criticism, a lot of bad looks coming at you if you're the NFL. And then to top it all off, USFL, there wasn't too much controversy. But you have the XFL, and then again, you have the USFL starting up soon too. the 2020 XFL had this thing where you could see inside the booth, you could see what they're looking at and all this other crap. You had these really advanced, really awesome, amazing ideas that just are Albert Einstein compared to what we have in the NFL right now. So if you have, a good reffing season by the XFL, which again, they're partnering with the NFL, it's essentially a G League. If you watch NBA, it's, the NBA G League is essentially what the XFL is. If you have a really good officiating with the USFL too, you're going to have so many eyes on the NFL. Well, why don't they just do what these two teams are doing? You're partnered with the XFL. So, there's a lot that's going to happen. There's a lot for me, my Packers. There's a lot for the NFL. There's a lot outside the NFL and for football that I want to, there's so much here, so much content that I could make. The problem is the NFL doesn't like to fucking change shit. They don't like to come out and be like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, blah, 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 blah. They don't like to come out because they're still really old school. They're still just, hey, we're going to do things our way. No one can really get kicked out by, if you're a higher up in the NFL. You can't really get kicked out unless you're an owner. But even then, the owners can't even kick out Dan Snyder! They can't even do one fucking job and help us all. We're all Washington Commander fans if they kick out Dan Snyder. Everyone hates Dan Snyder and they can't do shit. It's so fucking annoying. And again, it's the power structure and everything they have in there. But all 32, or I guess all 31 other teams are going to be so happy for Commanders fans if they get rid of Dan Snyder this offseason. And I know that's gone quiet. And I'm off topic. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm off topic here. But again, the focus has now really been on the football. It's been on the injuries. It's been on the refs. It's been on, the NFL is rigged. So this is kind of, I don't have a lot to talk about because I could just go, I went 0-2, Eagles, Chiefs, Super Bowl. That's it. Boom, bam, bam. Done. On to the next video, which I don't even know if I want to record my Super Bowl predictions because we still have 2 weeks. we have over 10 days. I think it was 11 days, 12 days. Time to record this. I record this, put it up on Tuesday. So if you're seeing this in the future, it's going to be less than that. But point is, I don't even know. I don't have a lot I can do this week. I have, ideas for skits and whatnot that I might try to put up something on, Thursday, Friday. I have a video already recorded I got to put up later this week, too. But I don't want to sit here an all off season and say, okay, the NFL's rigged. They, this has happened. We've had former players. I forget who the former Bucks player was. This was like the 0-1 Super Bowl or 0-2 Super Bowl. Said, hey, Vegas wanted the Bucks to win, and they're gonna win. They're gonna hit the money line, and they're gonna win. So you have a guy coming out and saying that. There's been rumors and whatnot and all this other crap. And I don't want, I can't. We're in 2023, and this is worse than I can ever remember it. Now, again, I wasn't alive in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 60s before, even before the NFL. So I don't know, this probably isn't the biggest, well, obviously, probably Saints and Rams is probably a bigger thing. In the grand scheme of the NFL, it's probably a bigger talking point. But this is up there. This is up there. So I went from 9-1 to 9-3. I can't get below 500 because we only have one game left. So what I'm gonna be doing? God, I don't know what I'm gonna. Do I just put up my Super Bowl pick tomorrow, and then what do I do next week? I don't even know what I do next week. I might just wait for that for next week. We'll see. Give me some time to think about it. Again, maybe someone gets injured in practice or whatever, or you have people coming back that are healthy. I don't know. But 9-3. Again, the main points coming out of this championship game are that it's not about football. it's not. And even still today, we're 2 days removed, and there's still talking points about it and whatnot. So, this isn't something that's just. Monday morning, it's we're all done with it. We're just going to move on to the Super Bowl. No, this is still going to be a talking point. And again, if you have the XFL and the USFL, and people go, oh, hey, I love the referees. I love that, we can see behind the scenes. We know what the refs are talking about in the huddle. All this other crap. If they do an amazing job, and again, the USFL had 1 year. They can clean stuff up for year 2. Obviously, again, probably got to give the XFL more than 1 year. But if they do an amazing job year 1, people are going to come back to the NFL and go, what the hell, man? Look at what the XFL, USFL just did. That was a penalty. It's not called here. It was clearly... clearly wasn't a penalty. Just look at, we have the same thing. Look at the XFL, USFL, but they called a penalty in the NFL. Like, there's going to be so many things, so many talking points this offseason heading into next year, too. It's going to be like, what? Well, who knows? And again, if we have a very bad referee Super Bowl, too, shit's going to explode. It's going to hit the fan, and it's going to explode. So... I don't want this to be a conspiracy theory channel. But again, injuries, 0-2, that's, Niners, again, didn't really have a lot. At least the Bengals-Chiefs game, what was it, 23-20 or something like that? At least that wasn't terrible. Like, it was a close game. Now, it was a lot of field goals in the first half. I will say that. Checking the score, 3-0, 3-0. 3-3, 6-3. It's like, oh. Well, I'm glad I didn't stream that. And then, again, I didn't stream the game. Went back, watched highlights, watched, some people live jumping in streams, just kind of saying hi. Watching people stream the game, seeing people get upset about everything and whatnot. It's like, oh, okay, well, I didn't miss a lot. So, for now, like the video, share the video around, don't subscribe. Again, we will have my Super Bowl pick, which will be either 1-0 or 0-1. I got, a 50-50 coin flip for 2 weeks. We'll review the season as a whole. I'll give my whole, regular season, postseason combined record. So I'm either going to be 10-3 or 9-4 after the Super Bowl. So, we'll plug that in at, after with my regular season stuff. But again, like, subscribe, share, all that again, and I'm out of here. Peace. And again, we'll come back, we'll talk, I'll go more in depth, because I want to talk about the Eagles and whatnot. They didn't look, super good, and then, we'll talk about the Chiefs too again. So, more stuff coming. Peace.